The NAXI people of China's southwest use the world's only surviving pictographic script. It's called Dongba. When a project was launched to translate the complete body of Dongba scripture, those involved faced some unique challenges. How did they overcome them? And what did their work reveal about the ancient culture and history of the NAXI? Find out in the fourth and concluding part of Legend of the NAXI People.
Dongba are the wise men of the NAXI people. They're not monks, but ordinary farmers. They act as priests at special religious ceremonies. The Dongba are also responsible for keeping alive the 1,000-year-old NAXI culture, which is known as Dongba culture. Dongba culture includes Dongba script, the only pictographic writing system surviving in the world today. The Dongba are wizards, doctors, scholars and artists. But above all, they are inheritors of NAXI culture. The Austrian-born American Joseph Rock first saw a Dongba presiding over a sacrifice in 1923, and he never forgot it. Later, he persuaded several Dongba priests to repeat their performance, and he studied their illustrated manuscripts. They explained that what he was looking at was Dongba script, and that only a Dongba could read it. Puzzled and fascinated by the pictographic characters, Rock resolved to translate all the Dongba signs and symbols into English. From that moment on, Rock's adventure in the homeland of the NAXI, which had begun in 1922, assumed a new goal: to collect and translate Dongba manuscripts. Like many other people, when they first set eyes on them, Rock could only guess the rough meaning of many of the Dongba characters. Dongba script is quite primitive, composed of very simple pictures. The image of a tree represents the word tree, and the image of a rock represents the word rock. Apart from tree and rock, the symbols for human, sheep and axe are also immediately recognizable. With time, however, the Dongba adopted many pictophonetic characters, along with various characters representing homophones. The character formed of a man and a sheep, for example, stands for herding. The sign for monkey can also be used to refer to ancestor. The famous oracle bone script, written on bones and tortoise shells, is accepted as one of the oldest forms of writing in the world. In all, it consists of some 3,000 characters. Dongba script, by contrast, has around 1,400. In historical terms, if oracle bone script is likened to a 3-year-old child, Dongba script would be a newborn baby. Dongba script, though primitive, is still in widespread use in Lijiang. It is the only surviving pictographic script in the world's many other ancient pictographs having long fallen out of use. For this reason, Dongba script is regarded as a valuable part of mankind's cultural heritage. Joseph Rock began work on translating Dongba script in 1935. He engaged several Dongba priests and asked them to recite their scriptures. When he did so, he marked down what he heard using internationally recognized phonetic symbols. In this way, he was able to produce an English translation. But for Rock, the work was often frustrating, particularly when different Dongba priests pronounced the same passage of scripture in different ways. Interestingly, contemporary researchers are faced with exactly the same problem. They have concluded that not even knowing all the Dongba characters is enough to actually read Dongba script.
我们象形文字本身就不是很成熟的一种文字，它不是完整的规范意义上的一种成熟的文字，这是第一。第二呢，与这种文字记录的东巴古籍文献，也因为由于这种文字史料的稀少和这种记录这种古籍文献的时候，东巴们是把它当作是一种提示系的记忆，就是有一部分文字来记录很多内容的这个基点内容，所以呢，这个它是凭记忆和文字相结合，才能识读这本经书。所以我们一般的人能够识读1400个单字，但不一定能把这本书读下来，因为中间有很多部分是省略的，所以只有靠东巴本身掌握这个文化的东巴，才能把这本书完整的读下来。
The difficulties encountered in mastering it form part of the fascination of Dongba script. The Dongba scriptures have been handed down from one generation to the next over many centuries, and they are a rich source of information. As canons of Dongba religion, they record the entire culture of the ancient NAXI people, including their history, astrology, geography, mythology, music, and dance. Joseph Rock was fascinated by the depth of content he found in them. In 1937, the year after Rock began work on translating Dongba script, Japan launched an all-out invasion of China. However, the fighting never reached Lijiang. When the US consul in Yunnan urged Rock to leave, he refused. Instead, he remained in Chuesong village and continued to interview the Dongba priests. In the course of the following years, he collected thousands of volumes of Dongba manuscripts and, with the help of the local Dongba priests, translated a large part of them into English. However, in 1943, Rock fell ill and was forced to return to the US. But in Washington, D.C., he helped draw up plans for the Hump Route, the air route over the Himalayas used to supply Chinese forces. In return, the US Army promised to transport Rock's academic research from Lijiang to the US. Unfortunately, however, the ship carrying all the documents was hit by a Japanese torpedo, and the fruits of his long years of research, thousands of volumes of Dongba manuscripts he had translated into English, were lost. When the news of the loss of the manuscripts was broken to him, Rock suffered a breakdown. He even contemplated suicide. But eventually, in September 1946, at the age of 62, Rock returned to Lijiang and resumed his translation work. By 1949, when he left China, Rock had completed his monumental 1,094-page NAXI English Encyclopedic Dictionary. In it, each of 4,000 NAXI words is transcribed in international phonetic symbols and accompanied by an interpretation in English. The book was eventually published in 1963. Sadly, Rock didn't live to see it.
The NAXI people of China's southwest use the world's only surviving pictographic script. It's called Dongba. When a project was launched to translate the complete body of Dongba scripture, those involved faced some unique challenges. How did they overcome them? And what did their work reveal about the ancient culture and history of the NAXI? Find out in the fourth and concluding part of Legend of the NAXI People.
Joseph Rock died in Hawaii in 1962, and over the following years, memories of him faded in Lijiang. But then, in October 1987, 25 years after his death, the new curator of Lijiang Museum received an unexpected visitor.
伊国爱迪巴大学的一位年轻的学生叫吉口旭，他受这个导师的这个意见和导师的提示，专门从事洛克的研究，或者说是继承洛克的遗志进一步的研究洛克的这个收集的资料，就是研究纳西文化。那么他在英国研究了25年，出版了很多专著，但是没大概理解，更不知道洛克生活和学习研究的地方，就专程来到了我们理解。
At the time, Li Shi knew little about Joseph Rock. During the Cultural Revolution, Dongba culture had been regarded as a superstition. But the visitor's arrival changed Li Shi's perception. In the early 1980s, there were many researchers in Lijiang who shared a desire to investigate Dongba culture and translate and annotate the Dongba classics. One scholar who would play a key role in this was He Wanbao. In 1979, He Wanbao was reappointed deputy head of Lijiang Prefecture, having been removed from the post during the Cultural Revolution. He graduated from Southwestern Associated University on the eve of the founding of the People's Republic of China. Determined to ensure the survival of the Dongba classics, in 1981 he had founded a research institute which later became the Academy of Dongba Culture. The main focus of the institute's work was the translation of the Dongba classics. Dongba culture at the time was still shaking off the stigma of a feudalist superstition. In fact, few people even recognized Dongba as a culture in its own right. However, He Wanbao insisted that the Dongba scriptures were cultural gems that should be translated, the earlier the better. In 1981, He Wanbao's institute set about the task of translating all the Dongba scriptures. 10 elderly and renowned Dongba priests and a dozen researchers were employed to read and interpret the Dongba manuscripts. In 1982, a 27-year-old named He Limin came to work at the institute. He was different from the other researchers because of his family background. His grandmother and mother belonged to a Dongba family. According to NAXI tradition, he should have received a Dongba education, but by the time he saw his first Dongba scripture, he was already at middle school. Today, He Limin is a famous Dongba. He vividly recalls how hard the work of translating the Dongba manuscripts was.
首先，第一个问题呢，老东巴，很多老东巴是不识汉文的，不会说汉话，他们能够念自己的东巴经典，他不能翻译成汉语。这个翻译工作必须要是由我们的这个翻译人员和研究人员来进行的。所以老东巴呢，他无能为力， 他只能识读出来。第二个呢，过去的老东巴呢，他识读东巴经书呢，他是为宗教服务的，只要念出来就行，他用不着去解释这个经典。但是呢，这个时候呢，我们一本一本的翻译东巴经典的时候呢，他必须要每一个字每一个词都要准确的翻译出来。所以这个对于老东巴来说呢，它是一个很艰难的工作。
Thanks to the hard work of the 10 elderly Dongba and the large team of researchers over a period of 20 years, in 1999, the 100-volume complete annotated translation of ancient Dongba manuscripts of the Naxi could be published by Yunnan People's Press. Sadly, He Wanbao did not live to see the books published. He died in June 1996 after 20 years spent translating the priceless Dongba manuscripts. In 2003, UNESCO included the ancient Dongba manuscripts in its Memory of the World Register. No doubt, He Wanbao would have been very proud at this recognition. Today, the responsibility for preserving Dongba culture is shared by both officials and ordinary people in Yulong Naxi Autonomous County. This is the Dongba Heritage School at Beiyue Temple, which opened on January the 23rd, 2011. The school has just 8 students, and all of them are from Dongba families. They come here after studying at regular schools. Traditionally, Dongba culture is taught only to male students, so all the students here are boys. The school's 3 Dongba teachers teach them sacrificial ceremonies, reciting Dongba scriptures, and performing traditional Dongba dances. Today, the teacher is demonstrating the proper way of offering sacrifices. For Naxi people, there can be no more solemn occasion than offering sacrifices to heaven. The ceremony is held in a specially prepared open-air venue. Either square or rectangular, it is surrounded by stone walls and is usually not far from the village. A stone altar stands in the square on which the sacrifice will be conducted. The Dongba who presides over the ceremony prays for favourable weather, a good harvest, and peace. The government of Yulong Naxi Autonomous County provides financial support for those families and villages who hold this traditional ceremony. It's a way of preserving Naxi tradition. Similarly, the Dongba heritage schools are another way of keeping Naxi culture alive. The Beiyue Temple School was built using $1 million provided by a businessman named He Changhong. Today, even Yulong's primary schools teach courses on ethnic culture. In 2007, the county education authorities published a set of course books on the Naxi language and Dongba culture for use in schools. These and other measures are designed to ensure that the culture will be preserved and passed on to future generations.
The Naxi people of China's southwest use the world's only surviving pictographic script. It's called Dongba. When a project was launched to translate the complete body of Dongba scripture, those involved faced some unique challenges. How did they overcome them? And what did their work reveal about the ancient culture and history of the Naxi? Find out in the 4th and concluding part of Legend of the Naxi People.
China has 56 ethnic groups, and the NAXI, with a population of around 300,000, form one of the smallest. However, with its unique culture, the NAXI ethnic group is well known around the world. People are fascinated by the mysterious Dongba script and the complex religious ceremonies. But there's something else that's unique to this ethnic group: Dongba papermaking. Whenever it's sunny, He Limin likes to take out his collection of Dongba scriptures and place them in the sun. The coarse paper used in these books is quite different from ordinary paper. The NAXI people call it simply Dongba paper.
这种纸呢，生产出来以后，主要是用来书写东巴经典，所以呢叫做东巴纸。同时呢，造这些纸的人呢，他本身很多都是东巴。东巴造出来的纸，运用于东巴经典书写东巴经典的纸，就称之为东巴纸。
The oldest book in He Limin's collection is at least 200 years old, and yet the book looks as if it was produced only recently. There is absolutely no sign of deterioration.
东巴纸呢，它的主要原料有两三种，其中最主要的原料呢是有一种呢叫做构树用构树的皮来制作的。 另外一种呢，叫做苕花，用苕花的皮来造纸。那么构树是一种乔木，苕花呢是一种灌木啊。那么这两种呢，它造出来的纸呢，它就都有一个特点呢，做出来的纸呢，因为它带有一点那个人们的一点毒性，所以呢，虫不吃它。
In Yushui village in the Yulong Naxi Autonomous County, a special workshop has been set up to make Dongba paper for tourists. Visitors can watch the entire paper-making process. Because genuine Dongba paper is produced manually and the materials used to make it are not readily available, it isn't possible to produce it in large quantities. Traditionally, Dongba paper was used only in transcribing scriptures and in painting. But today, it is a popular souvenir for tourists. Lanterns and bookmarks made of Dongba paper are sold throughout the area, although the paper may not always be genuine. The Dongba themselves have been mainly responsible for the preservation of the ancient paper-making techniques. Today, the manufacture of Dongba paper is counted as part of China's intangible cultural heritage. Visitors to Lijiang often wonder how such a small place could preserve all its written symbols, all its ancient music and all its traditional handicrafts, including papermaking. How was the local culture able to strike such firm root and survive to the present day?
我认为这与纳西族的性格有关，因为它有一个很明显的特点，就是随意潮流。但是另一方面呢，它是一种完全包容的。 对民族文化的从血液里面祖上保留的传承的这种文明，它始终是不断。比如祭天，祭天这个是我们很多民族的固有的，但是消失了，而丽江纳西人还在祭天，这就造就了这个民族既保守的一面，有随意积极进取的一面，有随意潮流，就是与时俱进的一面。
Today, while elsewhere sirens and towering skyscrapers increasingly become the symbols of cities, the home of the NAXI remains as simple as it has always been. Their ancient writing has not been relegated to museum showcases, and their ancient handicrafts have not been supplanted by modern technology. The NAXI people are people who go with the flow of the times while still defending their traditions, will, as long as they live beside the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, carry their beliefs, customs and culture with them into the future.
Sa 身在